Good evening, everyone. Welcome to El Tel Cockerel. It's Jose. Just doing a stream on my own, away from Talk and Ball. I explained it earlier as to why we're doing this, because the channel wasn't growing, even though we were sharing and dual streaming. The channel wasn't growing, so I decided to go on my own and do a show where you, the chat, would provide questions and talking points, and I would then go ahead and talk about them. It's interesting because Colin kindly helped me do the thumbnail, and with the thumbnail, I've lost what. So from the original thumbnail, it had someone had already made comments there, and now the comments don't appear on my screen. But even regardless of that, I know the first question, Ellie will be back in, and Ellie did pose the first question, but she can come back in and pose it again. So with that being said, I want to say hello to Niall Kane. Yes, Niall Kane. Hello, Ellie, it's me. So Niall Kane's in the house. Then we've got Barbaric. Barbaric was on earlier. Says, due to the slip of the tongue, use of Big Up earlier today, Jose's channel will now be renamed as El Tel Pats on the Back Cockerel to remind him of his sins. Yeah. I pats on the back is I just need to remember to say that all the time. Pats on the back. Pats on the back. No mention of the Americanism here. It will definitely be pats on the back. Pats on the back. Audio Artisan says, evening Jose, evening audio. Mr. Clark from Leicester. Buenas noches a todos en el chat. Good use of Spanish there. We have Niall Kane again. Big ups, great show, Jose Mourinho. Ooh. And then I have a question from, and I'm gonna start the question, and then I've also got Talking Beer Nick saying, buenas tardes, hermano. Es buenas noches here now, but buenas tardes para ti, buenas noches para mí. So the first question that I've got, although Ellie did ask one, she'll probably pop in and ask a question, is not a football related one, but it's one from Audio Artisan. And his question, and this is for everybody, not just for myself to answer. He says a question, what's your favourite biscuit for dunking? I like shortbreads, Audio Artisan. I don't eat many biscuits, but because it piles on, it's got loads of sugar and it piles on your weight. So I don't eat many, but I suppose when I do, or if I did try have a biscuit, I do like shortbreads, and I do like the Viennese whirls. They're probably two biscuits that I do like to dunk in a frothy coffee. Yeah, they're probably the two. So until I get any more questions, what I was going to say is, what have we had? Oh, look, it's my friend. It's my friend Carlin saying hello to my buddy. Hello, Carlin. Yeah, what have we had? So we played and we won 2-1 with a last-minute goal last Saturday. And sorry, as you ask questions, I'm going to star them because there's another question that's coming from Barbaric. And another one coming from Talking Beer, so we can discuss this as well. So what we have is from last Saturday, we won 2-1. We scored in the 4th minute of extra time, and we ended up winning 2-1. And since then, we knew that we're not going to play another game for another week until we play against Wolves. So therefore, my thoughts were, because I've not been around, my thoughts were, well, what we're going to do is we're going to get on the training pitch for a week. The players have only just come back from AFCON. The players are returning from injury, get another week's grace on the grass, another week's coaching by Mighty Ange and his team. And then we get ready for the Wolves game. And then we had rumours of some interest in some players, and one of them has been starred. I've starred one of them. But we had some rumours in interest of a couple of players. And then today, so for the last couple of days, the rumours have been surrounding two players, or the big rumours have been surrounding two players. And then after that, we then had today where we know Spurs came and did an open training session in the stadium, which wasn't nothing too strenuous. We could see it by looking on the videos that have been released by Tottenham Hotspur. It wasn't strenuous, but you know, just the same, it wasn't strenuous. People were there, but we saw that there was a couple of players missing today. And when we saw there was a couple of players missing and people raised questions, the answer came to us, or we were told that one of the players hasn't trained all week, and that the other player had trained this morning, probably at Hotspur Way, and has a muscle injury. Then both players will be looked at tomorrow. Now, it's not the first time that Mr. Postecoglou has turned around and said that, you know, players haven't been training because players have been carrying knocks and injuries. The dogs agree with that. Carrying knocks and injuries, and then not to be seen on the training pitch, but then be past fit on the last training session, and then be included in the matchday team or matchday squad. So that's basically what's been happening during the week. I'm going to say hello to a few more people, but I've started starring questions already. So we've got Spurs GCTV saying, "Evening, Jose. Keep biscuit dunking simple. Rich tea." So for Spurs GCTV, it's rich tea. And for me, it was, as I said earlier, when I was asked the question, for me, it's either a shortbread or a Viennese whirl. We have Ellie. Jose, woo, joining you, woo. Right, it's nice to have Ellie here. I hope everything's all right with your daughter. I spoke to you earlier. I hope everything's all right. And I'm glad that you've been able to join the stream in some part. I do have a question from you, but it's not here anymore. But I know what your question was. So I will ask your question first, and then I've got a further two that I've already starred. And we also have David Clark saying no doggy or Porro. Yep, true. We have Bobby K. Good evening, Bobby K. Says big up to Jose. Says another North Americanism. Big up, Jose. And everyone in the chat, come on, you Spurs. And everybody else is saying hello to each other. So just for people that, due to the slip of the tongue of the youth big up earlier by Jose on Jose's channel, Ivy and Talking Ball, I have to rename this channel Elbtel Pats on the Back Cockerel to remind me of my sins. So instead of saying big ups, because I never normally say it, I normally only say it when I read it out, I actually call it pats on the back. Anyway, right, so Eddie's question, I haven't got it here, but she did put it in earlier before we changed the thumbnail. And Eddie's question to me was, and I'll ask the chat as well, is do I believe that Ange Postecoglou will win us the title during his initial 4-year tenure? Is that the question you asked me, Ellie? I think it was. And my answer to that is any league can be won. It's the tall order to win any league in any country that you're in. And what tends to happen is that you get better and you evolve your squad yourself for your team, but all those around you as well, they evolve their squads as well. So it doesn't become easier. If anything, it becomes harder to try and win it because everyone's improving their squads. Apart from when you get some demonic years where Leicester won the league, where not many, Tottenham did, but there's not many other sides that I can remember in that year that improved their squad. So that was a gilt-edged chance to win the title. And then there was a year that Chelsea won the league under Conte, funny enough, where it's the famous year where he went to a back three. When Arsenal had beaten 3-0, he then went back to a back three, and then he kept that system forever and a day thereafter. And so when Chelsea won that league, and we were the ones that were challenging them for it, not many teams had bulked up and built up their squads. But since then, squads get stronger and stronger and stronger. But with squads, we're buying players of a certain age and a certain character, and we're going to evolve and build our squad like this. and therefore, if I've got 4 years to do it in, so I've only got 3 years to do it in after this season, do I think that he will win us a title during his 4-year tenure? I'm going to say yes. There is no reason for me to say no. So, yeah, so for me, to answer your question, Ellie, there is no reason why Ange Postecoglou can't build a squad to win the title in the initial 4-year tenure. For me, if the football remains the same and we get given and served up what we've been served up, i.e. front foot football, for the remainder of his tenure, then long may he continue being with us longer than the 4 years that he signed up for. Let's sign him up for even longer. So that's my answer to you, Eddie. Hopefully that's answered the question. Barbaric has asked a question, and he says, Christian, would you go with VDV at left back at the weekend, or would you risk Davis? Right, my opinion, and it's only my opinion, Barbaric, is I said earlier on the Talk and Ball show that we were on, I turned around and I said that Manchester City have centre-backs that play all across the back. I'm not even going to call them left back, right back, or whatever. They play across the back because Gvardiol for them he was a centre half. He's come to Man City. He seems to play or start off on the left hand side, but he's never there. He's always inverted, or he's up one of the furthest players forward out on the left wing. The same can be said for Walker. Walker doesn't play at right back. Walker plays and he inverts, and he's further up the pitch as well. So all these players are all centre backs, and they can all play. They can all defend as a 4 if needed, but when they're actually playing the ball and the game's in motion, these players are playing further up the pitch, and they're not playing left back, right back, traditional positions. So therefore, my answer to this is that we have Dragusin, we have Romero, and we also have Mickey van der Ven. Now, we know Mickey van der Ven's all left foot. So therefore, I'd say that if we were going to be without a doggy, but not Porro, let's say a doggy's out and Porro's out. Let's say they were both out. I hope not, but let's say they're both out. If the worst comes to the worst and they're out, I would play Van der Ven at left back or on the left side. I'd play Dragusin and Romero, and I'd play Emerson at fullback. However, if only one of them's out, then obviously I wouldn't play. I'd play Porro instead of Emerson Royale if he's fit. By the same token, if a doggy was fit and Porro wasn't, then what I would do is I'd play Van der Ven and Dragusin or Romero, and then going out to replace Porro would be one of either Romero or Dragusin, depending who was playing on the inside. So yeah, if it was me, I would go for Van der Ven at left back. I'd prefer him to play at left back, and I'd play Dragusin and Romero both at centre halves, because at the end of the day, whether he plays left back, whether he plays left centre half, Van der Ven, the one thing he is the blanket. He can cover positions like no man can, and we need a lot of that. So yeah, my question is, yeah, I would. Now that I've answered that, I don't know what your thoughts are in the chat, but I've got another question to ask. But before I do that, let me say hello to some more people. And I've got a question to start. Spurs GCTV commented saying, I cannot see why not. Massive challenge, but for the first time in years, we seem to have a plan. Next couple of transfer windows will show more. We already have come a long way. Exactamundo is exactly what I was saying. So Spurs GCTV is on the same train and bandwagon and the same thoughts, which is good to see. Daniel Lee, big up, mate. Big up. Nice to see you. Talking beer. So Nick's saying we have plenty of FFP space. We can spend this summer. My crystal ball says we will break club records. I saw that we have Adrian here, and Adrian has written a really, really good piece. It was his own personal piece. So it's his own thoughts. And for those that are not, if you're on Facebook, join Spurs Diehards. It's his group that he's got on there. He's got over 13,000 subscribers on there. And Adrian's written a piece himself personally on his thoughts on the season so far, starting from our 10-game unbeaten run even to now. And some nice thoughts that he's put in there. So get over, join his page, and have a read of what he said. But yeah, it's good. It's good what he's done. But in Adrian's crystal balling and what he's looked at, he says that he's worked out that Tottenham can spend, as we sit at the moment, Tottenham can spend 246 million without breaking FFP. That's where we are now. And that's because of a multitude of letting the players out, that we let Lloris go, Dyer go, Perisic, so you save on salaries and stuff like that. So things can be done, but yeah, it's a good read. It's well worth looking at. So if you're not part of it already, go to his Facebook page, Spurs Diehards, and yeah, ask to apply to become a member, and you can join the 13,000 plus that went before you. We have Chang. Good Friday. Yep, so it's Friday morning for Chang already. Morning to Senor Garcia and peeps in the chat. It's Saturday's game against Wolves. The best of it. Oh, so it's a question I didn't realise. Right. It's a question. So I'll start it and I'll come back to it. Sorry, I didn't think it was a question. I've got to say hello to some more people. So yeah, you've got Adrian's here. So I'm saying good evening, Adrian. We've got Ellie here who says just ran a bath for her Jose, so she's going to smell nice. For those that don't know, Ellie's daughter is going in for an op tomorrow morning. Ellie will not be able to come on shows for a while she's helping her daughter convalesce and get better. You've got Chang saying, good Friday morning to you as well, Mr. Spurs GCTV. Poison in big hands we trust. You've got Adrian saying, I write pieces and pre-match, post-match reports when I have time. Well, you've certainly written a really good one that was there. Bobby Case says that he would go with Davis, Van der Ven, Romero, and the Dragon at right back. So he's saying, yeah, so instead of having Royale, you would play Davis rather than Royale, and then keep the other three as it is. Okay, fair enough. You've got David Clark saying, just imagine that Bentancur, Madison, Sarr and Basuma are all firing at the same time. I pity our opponents. I totally agree. There's as I said earlier, David, on the Talk and Ball show, it makes a difference. So I'm going to go back to this start question. It makes a difference when I turned around and I said, that it makes a difference that. Sorry, I'm going back to the start. It makes a difference that we were talking about. I think we was talking about Brennan Johnson, and I turned around and I said, prior to the game on Saturday, I said I thought Johnson needs to go to the subs bench and come off and be effective off the bench, because he's been thrown in at the deep end, along with some other players as well, just thrown in at the deep end because we didn't have the squad to rotate. And now that we had players coming back and that we could rotate, I was thinking of starting with Werner and Johnson on the subs bench, and Sonny start with Kulu and Richie, which were the front three that we had for the first 10 games. But obviously it broke that that Son was a sub. So it just goes to show how you can play when you've got a better squad and how you can be effective, because we had the midfielders that played, but then Basuma then also came off the bench and replaced Bentancur. And Basuma did really well for the 20 minutes to half an hour he played. He played better in that short period of time on Saturday against who did we play? It's gone out of my mind. Oh, how bad is that for me? Anyway, he played a lot better in them 20 minutes to half an hour than what he had done for the last 4 games before he got suspended. So, and that was brilliant to see. So, you know, at the end of the day, it makes a difference when you've got players that can come off and can affect games off the bench. And we're getting there. On the bench last week, I think before the game, I turned around and I said, during one of the shows last week running up to it, I said, you can only have 9 subs. And I said that we had 11 players. Brighton, that's it. We played Brighton. Thanks, Ellie. Brighton. We had 11 players. So apart from Forster, we then had 10 outfield players that could only fit 8 slots on the subs bench. So people were going to miss out. And I think, if I remember, I think Hill missed out. And I can't remember who the other player was, but I think Hill was one of the ones that missed out. But it just goes to show, if you're allowed to, not that you have, but you've got Forster's going to be your backup keeper on the subs bench. But then if you play with an attack with the 3 players that played the first 10 games of the season, then the 3 on the bench are going to be Werner, a choice of Werner, Johnson, Scarlett, Hill. In midfield, if you start with the 3 that we had last weekend, then on the bench you had Bissouma, you had Højbjerg, and you had Skip. Donnelly didn't even make the bench, but let's say Donnelly's another midfielder, right? That's already given us 9 players, right? And then on top of them 9 players, you still got Dragusin, Davis, Royale. So that's 12 players. And then you've got Sessegnon to come back and Solomon. That makes 14 players. That's 14 players, and only 9 can be picked on the subs bench. So therefore, it's good that we're getting loads and loads of players back, and that we have these choices. Or sorry, that Ange has these choices. I say we because we all support Tottenham, but Ange has all these choices now to make, and it's good choices that he's got. Sorry, it's a good conundrum to have for him, because he can now look at people that are in the red zone, because they all wear the contraptions on their shirts when they're training. They wear them in the pitch, so all their data is being kept. And anyone that's going in towards the red zones can then be changed up, so then they don't get injured and don't get hurt. So we've now got players. We've got the luxury. We've got more players that we can change over. We have a bigger luxury now than what we had for the first 10 games, basically, which is good. Talking Beer has asked me, what do you make of the De Jong rumours? Okay, so there's 2 ways of looking at it. Some people have come out and said it's absolute bull crap, and it may well be. But the way that I look at it is, like everywhere else here in this country, Barcelona also have to fit into certain rules, FSR. They've got a type of FFP out in Spain as well, and we know that Barcelona for the last 2 years, bare minimum, if not longer, have been in trouble. Last season, they bought in 2 Jows, Felix and Cancelo, but all they could do is bring them in under loans, because they couldn't buy players. They offloaded Frank Kessié for like just £15 million, so they bought him in for free. They offloaded him for 15 million to Saudi, and they got rid of a couple of other players as well, but they didn't get much money for them, because I keep saying to people, the transfer money and the transfer market that we used to know isn't what we're going to see going forward in the future. So there's not going to be money where people are going to throw all this money to buy the players from you. They've got players in their squads that are on a lot of money. Their salaries, they're on a lot of money. And it's been reported that that Mr. De Jong is on, I don't know how, because I don't know where Barcelona are getting this money from, but he apparently is meant to be on 600,000 euros a week. Now, I didn't even think that there was players that got that kind of money, like even the top players, Ronaldo's and your Messis and people like that probably got that kind of money, but I didn't think someone like Frankie De Jong would get that kind of money, but they say he does. So the only way that, but he's one of the players that is a saleable asset that they can sell, because the thing that Barcelona are trying to do in the long run is Barcelona don't want to sell the youngsters that have come through La Masia. So when you got Pedri, you got Gavi, you got Balde, you got Lemao, you got all these youngsters that they've got in their team and in their squad. They don't want to sell them, and they're all up to the age of 20. I don't think any of the ones I mentioned are anything over 20. I think the oldest is 19. But they want to keep them players, and they would get rid of other players to try and fund them bringing other players in. So it's a balancing act that they've got to find. So they've made a decision. They want to keep the youngsters that have come through La Masia. So in order to cut your debts, you're going to have to get rid of someone. Well, they want to keep their youngsters, so it means they have to going to get rid of some more experienced people. But the only thing is, the market's fallen, so you're not going to get the kind of money you bought these players for. So someone like De Jong could probably command a fee, but whether people out there are prepared to go and pay 60 million for him, it remains to be seen. This summer is going to be an interesting summer for the clubs, not only in the rest of Europe but here in England as well, because it will tell us what people have really got and what people have to do to go and get, and that's the proof will be in what happens this summer. But with De Jong, part of me says that he's a saleable asset for Barcelona and that they could make money on selling him, which means that they could bring other players in, right? But the other part says to me that Tottenham, although we're in a very, very fortunate position, I don't see Tottenham paying out the wages for a type of player like Frankie de Jong, because people were saying that Harry Kane, when he was at Tottenham, although it's reported that he earned 200 grand, people are saying, and people don't know because people haven't seen his contract, but people are saying that his contract included add-ons where he could make money, like above the 200 would be his flat fee, but there was more money to be made if there's certain, if he triggered certain things every game or every season or whatever. So goals or assists or appearances and stuff like that. And there was rumours saying that we could do something with Frankie de Jong that will take him up to the money he's on now. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, so that's my... So a bit of both talking bit to answer your question, mate. Right, we've got to say hello to a few others, and then I've got some more to ask, because I've got some more started off. Where am I? That's another one there. I've got another one there. God, you're all firing the questions. Another one there. Ellie's saying, seagulls are very forgettable, Jose. Just ask Mia. Yeah. Good evening, David. Nice to see you, mate. Nice to see you here. Big up to the cobber. Look who it is. It's Leo as well. Good evening, Leo, my man. Good evening. Saludos a ti. Saludos a ti. Let me see if I've got any more questions. I'll quickly star them because everyone's saying hello to you. Okay, right. So I might have to work these backwards because do you watch soaps? Do I watch soaps? No. Well, I'm forced to, I'm afraid, because my wife does. Audio art is only saying could give Barca cash plus Giron and Celso or Gil, but the wages are a joke. Yeah. David's saying the wages would upset the apple cart. Right, I'm going to star Daniels. Adrian's saying Spurs have more chance of getting Rafinha, whose stats are far superior to now, than De Jong. Right, so I've now caught up with the chat. Now let me go back to the starred questions. So in order, the next starred question I've got for everybody and in the chat is Chang said, good Friday morning to myself and Pete's in chat. In Saturday's game against Wolves, the best opportunity for Ainge to deploy a 3 centre-backs of Van de Ven, Romero, Dragusin for Doggy and Porro out. Right, Chan, for me, from what I can see, is that with the way that Ange plays, it looks like we're playing with 4 at the back, with a right and a left back. But Doggy's not a left back. Porro is, for me, is not a right back. These players play in the inverted positions and act as auxiliary 10s. So for me, I wouldn't call them fullbacks. And as I said previously, answering a previous question, the way that I see it is that you could have 4 defenders, if you want to call it that. I keep going back to Man City. Man City, they line up at the back, whether they've got Kyle Walker, Rico Lewis, Dan Ake, Diaz, Stones, Akanji, Ake, and Guardiola. So I've named 8 players there, right? They can have a combination of any 4 of them 8. them 4 of 8 that they start off with are not a right back, a left back. Yeah, they play with their players further up the pitch. So you're what you'd call a right back. So if you said Rico Lewis or Walker, they don't play right back. They play inverted, right? When you're looking at someone like John Stones, he inverts, so he's not playing centre back. And then the people they play on the left, Gvardiol, Ake inverts. Gvardiol plays left wing. So for me, Tottenham could have Dragusin. They could. So this weekend, if one of them was out, like I said earlier, champ, if a doggy's out, I would play Van der Ven on the left side. I would play Dragusin and Romero and Porro on the right, knowing that Porro is going to invert. Now, whether that means we change slightly and it means that Van der Ven doesn't invert, but then we go to a back 3, it remains to be seen. Or it could mean that Van der Ven then pushes up. So, yeah, I can see them all playing in the system for Ange together, but because we don't play with traditional fullbacks. So that's why I would say that. Next question I've got is come in from Ellie. What's my favourite TV show ever? God. Okay, so I liked Love Thy Neighbour, On the Buses, Only Fools and Horses, Harry Enfield and Chums. So I like comedy, so probably them for the comedy side of it. Yeah, you got Dad's Army as well. I did enjoy Dad's Army as well. Barbaric Disdain's put that in there. I've just seen it because I've got 2 screens open, so I can see Barbaric writing at the same time. Yeah, so yeah, I like the comedies. To be honest, so that would be mine, Ellie. What's yours, Ellie? What's yours? I can see Barbaric likes Dad's Army. So what would yours be, Ellie? I can see David Shears saying so. Barbaric saying Dad's Army. David Shears going Open All Hours. Talkie Beers asked me Cheers or Seinfeld. I probably don't watch much of either, but if I was going to say one, it'd be Cheers, Talking Beer. Adrian says Till Death Do Us Part and In Sickness and in Health, 2 great comedy classics from yesterday year. So it's not Star, but Chang's put in here for his thoughts on Saturday. It's a good Friday morning to you as well, Mr. Beer Talk. Kick off in just over 36 hours. So I'm feeling rather pensive and agitated with the knowledge that Porro and the doggy are not in the frame to face Wolves. Well, I mean, I wasn't going to talk about Saturday's game, but what I would say is that you got to remember Cunha's out for the rest of the season. Cunha, who was their motor and was their engine and has been all season, is out for the rest of the season. So, talk and ball. Colin has asked me, will Johnson become a hero at Spurs? Define the word hero for me. What is the word hero? Do I think he'll be a success? I do. I think he will be a success because Ange is the one that wanted him. And I trust in Ange. And I said this before. At the end of the day, at the start of the season, when I could hear people saying, or people loose lips sink ships, and people were saying, yeah, trust Ange, trust Ange. No, when you trust Ange, it means you trust him 110. Not you just trust him and you're just saying it because you trust him. You need to trust Ange, and that means that when he makes errors, because everyone's fallible, when he makes errors, you're still trusting him, you're still back him. When he's doing well, you still trust him, you still back him. So it doesn't matter what rain, shine, wet weather, whatever it is, you back him all the way through. So I trust Ange. And if Ange wanted Johnson, which he did, because it was the one he wanted to have, then for me, I think that means that he will come good. Tell me how many players have had a brilliant first season for any of the clubs that they've gone to. Had a brilliant first season and then kept it up. Or is it people who haven't had a really good first season but then started motoring from the second season? We can see it at our own club. So we're Tottenham Hotspur supporters, and we can all see it happening at our own club. But we can also, as supporters of football, if we watch the wider game and you watch other teams play, you will notice that other teams have bought players now and in the past who've not hit the ground running in the first season, but they have in their second. So, you know, like I said, for me, it's get the season, get this season under their belt. For me, it's also about Johnson learning still. It's a new system he's got to play. He's never had a manager like Ange Postecoglou before. And for me, it's for him, for me, I would play, like I said, Kulu and Sonny, providing they're not hitting the red zones. I'd pick them two and Richarlison to be my front three. And then I would want the weaponry that I've got to come off the bench to keep the intensity up and to run defences ragged. Or you start with the speed merchants to start the game, and then you bring on Kulu and Son. The luxury is having all these players to choose from. But I think Johnson, I don't know about becoming a hero. I think Colin's working, so I don't know whether he'll see this again, or if he can hear it. But yeah, you'd have to define the word for hero. Will Johnson work out at Spurs? Yes, he will. How good can he be? That remains to be seen. I have Nick asking, can a doggy be a central defensive midfielder? I think that's what you mean by CDM. No, I don't believe he can, Nick, because he's too attack minded. He's not defensively minded for me. It'd be different if he was defensively minded, but none of our fullbacks can be a CDM because they're too attack minded. I can see, and I do agree with a lot of people, and I think Adrian was the first one to say this many moons ago. I can see Romero being a CDM if we really needed a number 6. I can see Romero being there, but a Doggy and Porro, they're too attack minded. Then I have Leo saying, ask you anything. Question, what you sipping on, my homie? I was sipping on a vanilla latte, is what I was sipping on. A nice vanilla latte, which I brewed up just before I started the show because I thought I'd get thirsty. So I brewed it up. So it's a vanilla latte. I won't have any more because if I have any more, then I won't go to sleep tonight. So that's the answer for that one for you, mate. And then I've got Daniel E. And Daniel E is, what's the 3 positions you want signings in? Mine are a deep line playmaker, a winger who chips in with 15 goals and assists per season, and a 25-goal striker, which will be tough to find. I think it's a hard one for me to answer, Daniel, because I think a lot of this would depend on what the outgoings are. Or we've been good this winter. Don't get me wrong, we've been good. We've moved some players on. But it's what we do in the summer. It's all very dependent on trimming our squad and getting rid of players. If we get rid of players, then we can bring players in. But it's what players we can get rid of. I think that with the trimming of the squad, there's certain people that we know already that we want to get rid of. I mean, the ones that stick out like a sore thumb is you've got Ndombele. More so the people that are out, they're probably trying to get rid of Ndombele. We're trying to probably get rid of Reguilon. But then that means you're getting rid of a midfielder and you're getting rid of a fullback, but they're not in the squad at the moment, and yet we've got 25 places taken up. So it all depends. It's very dependent on who we get rid of. But I would like to see probably. I would probably turn around and say that I would like to see one in every position. So I'd like us to strengthen defensively, in midfield, and in attack. A forward that can play in front three. That could provide goals or assists would do me because we get goals from everywhere. A midfielder, yeah, we could do with another midfielder there. A deep line one as well, yeah, that's a good shout. We could do with one, but then I think we also need another centre half, and for next season because we're not going to build it all in one window again. But I think we have cover for Porro in Emerson Royale, so there's no need to go for a panic buy because we've got someone there at the moment. But Do we have someone for a doggy? Is Ryan Sessegnon that man? Because I forgot. Sess was in training today. Sess has been on training all week. Sess was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because I see him on the videos. So therefore, he will have a chance of probably playing on the left hand side at some stage for Tottenham. So he's another one. But do we really have anyone to replace a doggy to battle it out with a doggy? Should I say? So therefore, there's ways of looking at it that way as well. But yeah, it's interesting for me, Daniel. It all depends a hell of a lot on what we're gonna kick out in the summer. And now I have got to catch up with a load of people because people have put more questions in here, and I've got to say hello as well. Right, so we've got Adrian saying Spurs need a left-footed centre back like the young Benfica 22-year-old Morata, who can also play left back. We've been linked with him. I saw on Tottenham. We are Tottenham. Yeah, we are Tottenham TV. When they did their thing today, it said that we're linked with him again. This young boy, Barbaric. So we go back to the TV shows where I answer the question. He says, "Dad's Army." David Shears says, "Don't say Neighbours or Home and Away," which I didn't. I answered Talk and Beer. David Shears says, "Like me, Jose." So I think he meant by comedies. You've got David Shear likes Open All Hours. Spurs GCTV is a fan of the Fast Show. Adrian Stroker is Till Death Us Do Part and His Sickness and in Health. 2 programs that you'll never get away with now, but they were good. David Shear likes the English humour. Another one. Look, Love Thy Neighbour could never be aired nowadays. Love Thy Neighbour, Till Death Us Do Part, and In Sickness and in Health. The PC brigade will have you over hot coals if we try to put them back in get them redone now. Adrian saying 40 Tales as well. 40 Tales was good. It's all the comedy programs, isn't it? You've then got Talking Beer said, correct answer, you will continue to be my favourite Spaniard. But then he reverts that back and says, scratch that, second favourite Spaniard. Porro is my dude. Still loved you, hermano. I'll come back to, right, so I've got a question there, and I'm going to come back to it. David Shear's got ain't half hot, neither. Talking Beer saying, Vanderman's having a brilliant first season, not to be a contrarian. Shakira Live, Mile High Hotspurs, Shakira Live, because I've asked a question here. You've got David Clark says, Till Death Us Do Part, because Afghan was a lifelong Spurs fan. He only played as a West Ham fan because the script writer was a West Ham supporter. It's correct. It was correct. We've got any more questions here? Yeah, hit the like button if you don't mind. Yeah, the like button would be good. I don't get many likes on this channel because I'm hardly ever here, but I am today. Good evening, Daniel Sandoval. Big up La Familia. One love. I said big up because I'm reading out. And then we've got, so I've started a few. So David Clark in answer said the most important 3 positions Spurs need to fill are at centre back, a left-sided inverted fullback, and a creative number 10 for when Maddison is injured. And you've got Daniel says Frimpong only has a 40 million release clause in the summer. I would love to sign him, but he ain't accepting being back up to Porro though, and Frimpong is a better as a right wing back. And now I'm going to go back because I started some questions. Is that another question that's just coming down there? Yeah, I've started these questions. So I've got 5 more that I've started, and hopefully we'll catch up. So, favourite concert I've ever been to. My favourite concert is for a group called Barón Rojo, who are a sort of like semi-heavy metal band in Spain, or back in the day they were, because I went to this concert many, many moons ago. The concerts I went to were when I was young. So, yeah, when I was young, I went to concerts, but I haven't been to a concert in like 35, 36 years. So it was probably Barón Rojo. I tried to get tickets in 1989. to go and see Guns N' Roses in New York when I was out in America. I did 6 months in America in '89, and I tried to get tickets, and the nearest I got was to the stadium, and that was it. Couldn't get in. But yeah, so for me, it's Barón Rojo. That's what they were called, Barón Rojo. So if you want to look it up, it's called Barón Rojo. Right, you've got Leo is saying, who will be the first player to have a statue at the stadium? Now, I've seen a couple of people comment on this. Yeah, I've seen a few people comment on this and saying that the first person at the stadium should be Bill Nick, which I can't disagree. I agree it should be Bill Nickerson. So Bill Nick was a former player, but as a manager as well. I'd say for me, Leo, it would have to be Bill Nicholson. And I'd also say there's room for some other greats there as well, from the 60-61 winning team that you can pick. And then there's players leading up to the present day that could probably be talked about. But there'd be a long queue, because there were some great players in the past who are a lot older than a lot of the people that we have in our community or in the chats, because a lot of people are a lot younger than, or we seem to have more of a younger fan base than some of the players, because there's a lot of people here that wouldn't remember the 60-61 team. And for any chat you go into, there's a lot of people that wouldn't remember it. There are some, but not that many. There's more. They get outweighed by the people that were brought up in the watching football in the 80s, the 90s, the noughties, and stuff like that. So for me, Bill Nick, definite. But then there's a long line of people that could probably get a worthy mention. But I would go back to 60-61 and then work my way to present day. David Shear's asking me, Hatate or Gibbs White? I really like Gibbs White. And I'm thinking to myself, everyone's saying that we need a 10 for when Maddison's not around and Maddison's not playing, or someone to give Maddison competition. And for me, that's Gibbs White. I prefer to have Gibbs White than Hatate. I think Gibbs White would give Maddison the competition. And I think Gibbs White is turning out to be a really, really good footballer. And he seems to put a hell of a lot into his game. And he's a leader at that team. And he's only, 23 or whatever, Gibbs White. And he's a leader. You can see him for Forest. He's a leader. He wants everything done correctly. He wants, he wants to win and stuff like that. So, yeah, for me, I would say Gibbs White. Not sure what the chat would think, but me, I'm going for Gibbs White. Then you've got David Shear asking me, can we trust Cesc, Jose? It's like anything. We thought the same of other players as well, David. We thought of other players. And to me, and the great man himself, Mr. Postecoglou, with Mr. Postecoglou and his team behind the scenes, they've improved a lot of players at our club. So not only have they improved players that have come to our club, but they've improved players that were previously at the club and have become better players for their training and their tutelage and their guidance. And I can only see, if Cesc can't make it with this tutelage and guidance and coaching, then he ain't going to make it anywhere, is he? So, yeah, I reckon that he could be. If Ange trusts him, David, then Ange will play him. And that's good enough for me. And this is where I'm going back to. You're either 110 behind him when you say you trust him, or you don't. I'm 110 behind him. I trust him. If he thinks Cesc can give us something, he'll play Cesc. If he doesn't believe that Cesc can give us anything, then he won't play him. So the proof will be in the pudding. When he's back fit, and I mean he is fit, so if he is fit, then we'll see what whether Ange picks him or not. So, right, next one's coming from Spurs GCTV has asked. Question 3. Question. 3 posters on the wall growing up. Mine were Debbie Harry, Clint Eastwood, and Bruce Lee. Ooh. So you're asking me then what my 3 posters were? What are my 3 posters? I know what my posters were, and I can't remember bloody right. What was it? What was she in? She was in. Right, one of my posters was Glenn Hoddle. I'm going to tell you that now. So Glenn Hoddle was one of my posters. And I'm trying to. Is it North? Is it East? Is it East? No, it won't. Oh, what was her name? Sophia Loren would have been one of them. Bridget Lalandeglia, whatever her name was another one that I used to have. Glenn Hoddle I used to have there as well in between them all. Sophia Loren I had as well. And I can't remember the lady's name now, but she was in a program I used to watch. I saw her. It was is it North versus South? Was that a war film? North versus South? Is that where I'm getting it from? A family war film? It was. She was a leading lady in it. If it's North versus South, or is it North by North? Anyway, black-headed lady, big bosoms she had, absolutely gorgeous lady she was, and I used to have her as well. So I'm giving you more than 3 there, Spurs GCTV. Right, where am I going down to now? So going back, so David Clark says, my favourite concert was when I saw the Drifters in Leicester. And then we've got Chris Peters saying, I saw Queen at Wembley Stadium in 1986, a year after Live Aid. Status Quo, The Alarm, and In Excess were the warm-up bands. Wow, you had some serious warm-up bands there. God, some serious warm-up bands. David Clark is saying quite unashamedly and quite clearly, Bill Nicholson. Sorry, but everybody else and many levels below the great man. So yeah, the statue is Bill Nick. And then you've got David. She said, all I can say is we better have a brilliant pre-season to see Alfie Devine, Donnelly, and others what they can do. Ellie's coming with her ultimate favourite is Only Fools and Horses. David Shear is saying that he saw Kick in 1988. David Clark is saying, I heard that Sessegnon got injured yesterday playing Subbuteo. They're horrible people, these people. Look, David, Sess attempted an overhead kick and pulled his hamstring. And then I've got, here we go, where is he? David, look at that. Jose, Sophia Loren and Raquel Welch. There we go. Sophia Loren and Raquel Welch. Leo, on his wall, his 3 posters when he was younger were Hulk Hogan, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan were his 3 posters when he was younger. And then you've got another 3 posters from David Clark. David Clark says the 3 posters would be the blonde in Dr. Zhivago, Sophia Loren, and Princess Grace of Monaco, all naturally beautiful women. And then we've got Kate, the lovely Kate. Good evening, Kate. How are you? I hope you're well. Glad to see that you and Jim are up and about and that you've been on shows. So I'm glad that you're all getting better. And I'm hoping that you've both still kicked the habit, because I noticed something like 10 days the other day that you said it. So I hope that's still going well for you guys. I know how hard it is to do for a lot of people. So big up to yourselves for doing that. Yeah, it'd be interesting. For some other people. What were your 3 posters that you had on your walls when you were kids? Three of your posters that you had. We've had a few people. Oh, here we go. So Kate's come in, and Kate's saying her 3 posters were Adam Ant, Take That, and Brad Pitt. So yeah. you can see the how the different age groups are, because some these are younger people. Well, Leo's gone for even younger people than you have, and some of us old fogies have gone for some well older people. I've got Daniel asking me the question: Baresi or Maldini? My answer is Maldini. Oh, they were both top shelf players. I suppose I'll go with Maldini, and the reason why I'll go with Maldini is because Maldini never went to the floor. Maldini never went to the floor. If he could help it, Maldini would stay on his feet all day long. Baresi, when he played at the back with Costa Curta and that, he would, he'd put a tackle in and that. But I think, I think it's got to be Maldini for me. Got to be Maldini. Right, so it's not you on the 3 poster thing. You guys have got me. North is south. It's not north is south either. There was a film. There was a program. It was a program. It was from America. It was way back. It was about. It goes back to the 1800s, or it might even be the 1700s, and I'm sure it was about war. And some families that were involved in the men went to war and they were opposing families and that. And there was a beautiful lady with black hair, and I can't remember her bloody name now. But I had a poster of her when I was a youngster, and I can't remember. I can't remember. Right, talking beer. So Nick says he had Ozzie Smith, Nolan Ryan, and Jimi Hendrix. Superb. And mile high, Leo saying, look, kids these days don't know a thing about posters. And you got David Clark saying, none of my picks needed foundation, whereas the women actresses of today have a trowel in their makeup bag. Oh, he's going for it tonight, Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark's going for it. Right. Here we go. What's he saying? Oh no! Look at this. This is Australian for you. So 2 Sheilas and the poster of the Navy carrier HMS Melbourne. The die was cast, Jose. That is proper Aussie humour for you, mate. Proper Aussie humour. Audio Artisan. Now he's going for Samantha Fox, Sabrina Salerno, and the one with the girl playing tennis showing a bit of cheek. Yeah. Good night, Kate. Take care. Kate has a member show on tomorrow morning, so she's probably going to get a beauty sleep and getting prepared for a member show. So join Kate on a member show tomorrow morning. Nice of you to come on, Kate. Samantha Fox. Now that takes me back. Bloody hell. Samantha Fox has got to be my age. I think Samantha Fox was my age. So. Bobby K, what's he saying? All 3 posters were Samantha Fox. Had to throw them out because they got stuck together. No idea how. There's always one. Boom, boom. There's always one. What does he say? David Clark is saying, my cousin Peter Clark was the highest ranked naval officer in Perth, Australia. Ooh. The 3. Oh, Chris Peters preferred Linda La Sardine, as I used to call her. Linda from Essex. And Daniel Sandoval, look at that. This is an interesting comment from Andrew. Daniel Sandoval said, I played in the same festival with Madness, The Specials, Massive Attack, Blur, etc. What festival? To get all them people together, I suppose, to get them, it must have been a big old festival to get Madness, The Specials, Massive Attack and Blur together. God, they were 4 big bands. So, it must have been a big old show to get them all. Um, that program, no, as long as this film. Oh, right, I'm trying to see if I can find this film that I was talking about. Right, I might be wrong. Right. Nah, man, you've got to go further back than that. Right, here we go. I might find, is this person I was talking about? Let me have a look where I am. 1984. Right, no, it's not that one. It ain't that one. Okay, so it's not who I thought it was. But yeah, it's not who I thought it was. But I do remember vaguely having a poster of Kirstie Alley on my wall as well. So I'm going to have to say that I did have a poster of Kirstie Alley on my wall as well. And then David Clark has said, the group that I saw live who gave the best value going full blast for 2 hours was Mud. They were sensational. And Talking Beer says, look up Lollapalooza 1997. I saw it in Dallas. It was a freaking epic. And Daniel saying, I was in a band for 8 years, so we played in lots of festivals. But what I'm thinking though, Daniel, is to get to get Madness, Specials, Massive Attack, and Blur in the same festival, it had to be a big festival. It's not one of these like, I'm going to go to Connington, the Connington Festival, because I'll get one of these bands, but I won't get all four. Do you see what I mean? When you do stuff like you do Party in the Park, let's say you do Party in the Park. Party in the Park will have 30 different acts. But of the 30 different acts, you're lucky if one of them is a top headliner in 30 acts. The kind of places that you get these four like this would be somewhere like in Glasgow. You'll definitely get four like this. You probably get a few more because Glasgow's based over 3 or 4 days. So you probably get, and you've got different stages, so you probably get a fair few. But to have 4 in one festival, it must have been a big old festival. And then we've got David Shear, saw AC/DC circa 1999. I saw, or should I say I saw? Yeah, I saw, I heard. I'm going to say I heard because when you get clips of it sent to you, but Kiss at the Hammersmith Palais, I think it was Hammersmith Palais, Kiss circa 1984. So Kiss that had Ace Frehley, Gene Simmons and stuff like that back in 84. God, the music that we used to listen to as youngsters, it's just madness. So we're now talking about heavy metal and stuff like that. But then I could talk about a whole load of different other music. David Clark says, I saw a photo at his mum's house in Norwich, which showed Peter on the stage in Perth, showing the white feathers on his hat, and standing next to him was Queen Elizabeth. How interesting. David Shear, Sea of Joy in Hyde Park with Stevie Winwood, Ginger Baker, and Clapton, My God. And Chris Peters is, I met Paul Weller in Spain after a joint concert with Oasis. We had a beer together in a small bar. That doesn't surprise me about Chris Peters, about Paul Weller and Oasis, because Oasis, a lot of what they did, they modelled themselves on the way Paul Weller was. The way Paul Weller sang and was, they modelled themselves a lot on Paul Weller. So the Gallaghers always had time for Paul Weller, even though the Gallaghers are obviously from Manchester and Paul Weller's from down south. They did have a lot of time for each other. Daniel Sandoval is saying we played at the Rockskilde Festival. See, we learned something new. So doing this tonight and just asking me questions, everyone's answering questions that being asked, and everyone's talking about. So you get to find out a little bit more about the people that come into the chat. So it's been interesting because you get to find out what people's likes, dislikes, habits, and hobbies and stuff like that were. So yeah, it's been interesting reading up on all this. What we got here? We got Daniel here. Daniel Lee saying, "Who you reckon for the Euros this summer? I be real. Think the story is written. Kane don't win the league with Bayern, and then win his first trophy with England in Munich in the summer." I think attacking wise, I think England could stand up, or should be able to stand up with the best of them, attacking wise. You tend to normally look at the big boys, don't you? So you're looking at your Italys, your Germanys, your Frances, Spain. Belgium are going through transition, but they've got quality. They've still got quality in their team, and that. But I say for attacking wise, I think England, attacking wise, probably got some really good squad. What I will say though is Spain. If Spain had a striker and played that way, Spain would be absolutely deadly. And I think Spain will go close. They haven't got a striker, and they don't play with a striker, but I think they'll go really close. Spain's squad, with some of their young talent coming through as well, forced to be reckoned with. You're lucky if you get the ball off them. Honestly, you'll be lucky if you got the ball off them. So I think it's going to be some of the top teams. I think attacking wise, England have got a dearth of talent in the midfield three and in the forward three. So the forward six, however you want to look at it, I think they've got an absolute storm of a squad or a team that they can have there. But I actually think that you've got. I think Spain try and get the ball off them. Spain will play you off the park, but they haven't got. If Spain changed their tactic and had a striker and used the striker, Spain could be deadly. But they play like Man City, but Man City have got Haaland. Spain do that to teams. They keep the ball, they play the ball in, out, and knock you out. But they ain't got a Haaland. They haven't got a number 9. They haven't got a striker. And at times you find that Morata will be on the subs bench, and you think to yourself, well, if he's the only player that you've got that can play up front, then why don't you stick him into the team? You know, why don't you play with him as a 9 instead of having him on the subs bench? But yeah, I do think, Daniel, that England have a great chance. But I think there's some other big boys out there. I think France, Spain. If you tell me from a final 4, right, and I don't know what the draw is yet, and that, I'd like to think if they could avoid each other to the semi-finals, I'd like to think you're looking at Spain, you're looking at France, you're looking at England, and I'm going to throw in Holland. I'll throw Holland in. Next one we've got. So you've got Talking Beer says, for real, Jose, Lollapalooza 97 Dallas was Tool, Snoop, Devo, Korn, and The Prodigy. Wow. 96 was Rancid, The Famine, Soundgarden, and Metallica. Oh. David Shear saying, Oasis made tits of themselves on a plane to Perth. Off their faces they were. They were off their faces all the time. Ronnie is going for France for the Euros. David Clark is talking about his cousin, saying before he joined the Australian Navy, he was a nuclear submarine commander in the British Navy. Some career, hey, I wished I had his pension. Daniel E is saying England or France for him. Then you've got Ronnie saying that England won't win with Southgate. Daniel E is saying, I think the Bellingham factor could be a difference maker this summer as well. Ellie is saying France have the flair, but I prefer the way Spain play men's and ladies football. I've starred Bobby your question. Daniel Sandoval says, John Olav Nilsson and Gengen Norwegian band live here. Daniel says, I think England and France are clear of the rest to be real. Your opinion. England won't win anything. Southgate couldn't win a raffle if he bought all the tickets. He's that bad. Ooh, no love for the manager then. Right, Bobby K. Jose, which breed of dog is your favourite? Right, I like, obviously I love German Shepherds because we've got German Shepherds, but German Shepherds were bought more with the family in mind and having really, really young children at the time. Because before these German Shepherds, we had another one. We had Bear Bear. Bear Bear was a beast. Bear Bear wanted to eat the two that I've got now. Bear Bear was huge. He was massive. He was just that absolute loon. But they've always been protectors and they've always looked after children really, really well. So we bought the German Shepherds in mind because of that. So we have had German Shepherds now for, I'd say, just over 20 years. We've had German Shepherds. My parents in Spain on the farms and that, and in the rural villages that we live in, they'd go hunting. So we've always had dogs, but packs of dogs. Like we've had like 15, 20 dogs at a time. All the ones with the floppy ears, so all sorts, from Cocker Spaniels to all these mad different breeds, because we go hunting and they were really great hunting dogs. But they were also comfort. So when my boys and my daughter were growing up, so they're 38, 35 and 31, so I'm going even further back now, and we used to go back to Spain and that, they would look after them. So when they went in the fields and wherever they went, the dogs would just follow them. So regardless that you've only just come for a holiday or for a visit, they would just follow them and they stay with the children all the time. So I've always loved dogs. I'm not a cat man. I've always been a dog man. But I do have a soft spot for Staffordshire Bull Terriers. I do have a soft spot for Shar-Peis as well. I like Shar-Peis. I like Staffordshire Bull Terriers. But because of family and bringing the kids up and that, it's been with that we ended up having German Shepherds for the last 20 years or so. So I hope that answers your question. I've not seen. So you've got Ronnie saying an English settler for him. Labradors for talking beer. And I think they're the only three people that answered about what we just talked about. And then I've got Ellie. Ellie is asking a question here for you, Jose. Which man and woman player from Spain you consider the best ever? Which woman footballer do I consider the best ever? Woman footballer, right, for me, will be the youngster, the young 19-year-old that played for Spain, who I told you all about when we did the stream, Parahuela, and I told you she's fucking brilliant. And I think she's going to go on to do the most amazing things. She's only 19, she's absolutely amazing. You've got Putellas, you've got Hermoso, you've got all these other players for Spain, but for me, without a shadow of a doubt, it's Parahuela. I think she's absolutely fantastic. So for me, she will be the best ever. She's still playing. She's only 19. She will be the best ever. I can't see. I can see her being better than Putellas and Hermoso, even at a young age. I think it's clear for everybody to see. For a man, what man Spanish footballer do I think is the greatest ever? It's difficult because if I look for goals, then I'm looking at Raúl, Butragueño. If I'm looking at goals, I'm looking at Raúl and Butragueño. If then I'm looking in midfielders, then I'm looking at the likes of Iniesta and Xavi for midfield. But then equally, if I'm looking at centre backs, then I'm saying that Fernando Hierro was he was an absolute monster when he played for Real Madrid in Spain. The Fernando Hierro that we got here at Bolton when he came to the Premiership, he came here when he was 35, 36. So, but the Fernando Hierro that played before then was an absolute beast. But I'd probably have to then go for, I suppose I'd have to go for Iniesta in the end. So for me, it's Iniesta and Balayuelo for the women. And that is hopefully your question answered. And then we've got, Spurs GTCV says, always had chocolate Labradors, now a crazy Spaniel. Fantastic. We foster doodle. Oh, sorry. Bear Talk says we foster doodles. Loyal guard dog right there, Jose. Yeah, they are. They're very, very loyal. David, do you have dogs? I don't even know. I know that Ellie is a cat. And Ellie's a cat woman. I know that Ellie's got a few cats. I think Kate's got a few cats, but she's got a few dogs as well. Yeah, I don't know. Are people into dogs or cats? It'd be interesting to know. You've got talking this, and there's a massive issue just north of us with puppy mills. Really, that's not very good. Puppy mills, not very good at all. Daniel Lee is saying Iniesta. Yep. For Ronnie, it's Raul and Putellas. Like I said, Ronnie, it's difficult when you're looking at forwards. If you're looking for the greatest ever, you're looking for forwards. I'll look at Raul, but then I also look at Butragueño, who's before him, the vulture, Butragueño. Both played for Real Madrid, both played for Spain. But then after that, I look at the midfielders, and there's some great midfielders for Spain. So it's difficult. It depends what position you're actually looking for. Daniel Sandoval says, he grew up with Dobermans. Yeah, Dobermans are nice. Doberman pinchers. Yeah, they're nice. They're nice. Nick says cats are evil. And Eddie's saying, I'm defo a cat woman. Meow. David Shit, I have a black and white Staffy Terrier. Dogs always cobber. Dudley's 15, my best mate. He's a real pat seeking merchant. Yeah, we like patting. Pats on the back, pats on the back. No big ups here. It's all pats on the back. There we go. The big ups are for the North Americans. We here are pats on the back. Hopefully everyone understands that, and I got that one right. David Shear's saying he hates feral cats. When I was in Cambalda, the bush. I'm going to star this because I got asked another question by Els. Ellie's keeping me on it. She's keeping me busy. Ellie's asking me, who is your least favourite football ever and why? I don't understand your question, Ellie. Who is my least favourite footballer ever and why? Or who is my least favourite football team ever and why? I'm not sure. Are you asking me for a player or for a team? Yeah, if you could tell me else, I don't know. Or I can answer it both ways if you want me to. Footballer. Okay, so Ellie's asking me who's my least favourite footballer ever and why. My least favourite footballer is probably, and it's unfair because you don't know what happens behind closed doors. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. So, you know, my least favourite footballer is probably David Bentley. But you don't know what happens behind closed doors because he had, or supposedly at Blackburn and anywhere else, he had the world at his feet. He came to us and it's like he didn't want to know. Now, I don't know whether things were going on behind the scenes and it affected him because mental health issues can affect you. But he certainly dropped out of the game quickly enough. So you've got that. Another player that I don't like, and it's only because they're not open-minded, they're clouded judgment because they don't like Tottenham, is probably someone like Paul Merson or Tony Adams or even Ray Parlour, because they're very closed off. But then by the same token, I'm saying that, but as Tottenham fans, we would be closed off against Arsenal as well. The majority of Tottenham fans would be closed off against Arsenal. So I can understand that as well. As for teams, what team do I least like? Not because of their football, it's probably more because of their support. I'd say Liverpool circa 1986 to present day. I think that Liverpool think that they have a sense of entitlement. Liverpool were a great football team back in the 70s and very early 80s until they were taken out of Europe because of shenanigans, and English clubs couldn't play in Europe anymore. And then after that, the world changed. And with the world changing, teams became better because Liverpool stand out. They used to be superb, and they used to win in Europe all the time, and they were a stand-out side. They played really good football. But then the world stopped because English clubs got thrown out of Europe, and then after that, Liverpool seemed to have a sense of entitlement, and they've won the league once in 30 years. And when they won the league, you would have thought that was they did at Real Madrid, they did La Décima. They'd won the 10th year on the trot. They'd done the Décima. That's what you would have thought, the way that they celebrated when they won that one Premiership, which is the only league that they've won in 30 years. So I think more so for their fans than the actual team, because Liverpool play good football. But it's the way that their fans think that they have a sense of entitlement, and the way that they celebrate and stuff like that. That's the reason why I'd say my least favourite football team would be Liverpool for them reasons. But yeah, so I hope that answers that. We have got David Shear is saying Sol Campbell or Darren Bent for him. Daniel is saying Sol Campbell, and I doesn't need to explain why. David Shire's come back in. He's got a third one. He says, and Cundy for that reason. Ellie says, I went to David Bentley's restaurant in Essex and the food was so great. Jose, so as a restaurateur, top notch. So Jose, as a restaurateur, he's top notch, but as a footballer, nah. Ronnie says, I have two Sol Campbell and Jason Cundy. I have two. Sol Campbell and Jason Cundy. Team is easy. It's Chelsea. Interesting. We've got Carlin in the house. Says he's still working. Cobber. I'm going to star yours, David. You've got Arsenal because the scum from Daniel Lee. Sol Campbell and Chelsea is from Ronnie. Ellie says she didn't like Robbie Savage as he played like his namesake and was a nasty shithouser and always moaning like a baby to the ref. And David Shear saying smash the lights. Yeah, smash the lights would be good. But I've got David Shear asking me a question, and Talking Beers asked a question. So everyone in the chat can answer this. It just doesn't have to be me, but they're asking me, but anyone can answer this. Is Jose, who was your favourite Aussie footballer? My favourite Aussie footballer, I've got two, and it's a toss-up between them both. They both played for the same club here in England, and they were both absolutely immense when they played here in England. So I'm going to say, can I have two? Am I allowed to have two? If I'm allowed to have two, I will pick the two. Right, I'm going to have two then. So I know you didn't come back to me. So David, the two that I'm going to go for. So Talking Beer saying Melly Jednak. Daniel Lee's got the Tim Cahill. The two that I'm going to go for are Harry Kewell and Mark Viduka. I thought that when they came to play in the Premiership and they played with Leeds United, I thought they were both unstoppable forces. The team that David O'Leary built at Leeds, yeah, they paid for the team that they got. but the players that they brought in, I mean, yeah, they had Rio Ferdinand at the back with Jonathan Woodgate. They had David Batty, Gordon Strachan in midfield. You had Harry Kewell, you had Mark Viduka. They had some serious team. They cobbled them up together. Obviously, back then there wasn't FFP, but there was other shenanigans going on. And Leeds built up a side, and they were a side that got to the European Cup semi-finals. I think it was the European Cup when they were playing. It wasn't the Champions League. They got to the European Cup semi-finals, and then, or it might have been the Champions League, and it folded for them. And obviously they were in debt, and then they tumbled down the leagues and that, and they ended up dismantling the team. But for me, you're asking me that question, I'm going to have to go for two players. I'm going to say Viduka and Kewell, and for the money they paid for him at the time, worth every single penny. And you would pay admission to go and watch Leeds, and you'd pay admission to go and watch Viduka and Harry Kewell. They were masters of their craft for me back in the day when they played in the early 2000s. So that's the answer for me. Talking Biz coming with Melly Jednak. Daniel says Tim Cahill. Audio Artisan is coming with Kewell. Ellie is, look at that. Ellie is Mark Viduka and Harry Kewell were my favourite Aussie footballers. And she goes on to say, wicked goals, especially Viduka, as he had a great shot on him. And David Shear is saying Craig Johnson was huge for Liverpool after the FA Cup. He had to quit to look after his sister as she was ill and stranded in Kenya. Yeah, Craig Johnston was a good player. Adrian Schroeder's gone for Craig Johnston as well, and Harry Kewell. So, yeah, there have been some good Aussie players over here in the Premiership. But there's been some good Aussie players throughout Europe. It just doesn't have to be the Premiership. You had Aussies come over to play in Europe. And that's a mark of, it's the same as when the Americans came over pre the 1994 World Cup. You started getting Americans coming over and post that World Cup. And at the end of the day, if you leave your country to go and play in bigger leagues, let's say the top 5 leagues, then it's going to make you a better player, because the coaching that you're open to, the facilities that you're then open to are probably better than where you've come from. And it makes you a better player, and it makes the team a better side, and it makes the supporters love the team even more. So, yeah. Yeah, it's a good question to ask. David Shear, you're coming back to us with Viduka was a generational player for Australia, coached by a young Ange at Melbourne. There we go. Right, who have I got in the next question? Because I've got another question here. Right, so that's that one. So the Aussie footballer I've done. Right. Yeah. Right, Talking Beer's asking me, Clint Dempsey or Peter Crouch? Nick, there's only one winner for this, I'm afraid. One winner, and that's got nothing to do with nationalities. But the winner for me, hands down, is Peter Crouch. Crouchy's winner against Manchester City that put us into the Champions League under the Redknapp days, went into the Champions League under the Redknapp days, is something I will never, ever forget. So, yeah, for me, it's Peter Crouch. It's easy to answer that one. Hands down for me, Peter Crouch. Anyone else got any thoughts? Clint Dempsey or Peter Crouch? What do you want, guys? Clint Dempsey or Peter Crouch? Spurs GCTV has gone Crouchy all day. So there we have one for Crouchy all day. Right, next question I got starred. I won't do too many more. I'm going to let people go soon. But GCTV's asked me a question. He said, favourite footy TV programme? For me, Saint and Greavesy. Well, Spurs GCTV, you've asked the question. You're not giving us much of a chance because you've already gone with Saint and Greavesy. David Shear's gone Crouchy. Daniel Sandoval's gone Crouchy as well. So at the moment, we've got a lockout on Crouchy. Ellie's gone Crouchy as well. Daniel Lee's gone Peter Crouch. Goal away against City is in my 5 best moments as a Spurs fan. And that's the goal I was talking about. Saint and Greasy was absolutely brilliant, Spurs GCTV. Loved watching it. I used to like watching fantasy football with Badil and Skinner as well, though. So Saint and Greasy followed hotly for different reasons to fantasy football with Badil and Skinner. I used to love it. I used to like their piss takes as well that they used to do. St. Greasy were comedy gold because it was never planned. It was always ad-libbed. As the show went on, they just did it. It came out of instinct, more from Greasy's side. But I did enjoy fantasy football with Badil and Skinner as well. That programme was born out of the heyday of 1996 when we had the Euros here in England, and that programme was born from there. And it done really well, and it probably lifted the nation up in a program like that. So we've got Talking Beer has also said Dempsey is the reason I even follow Tottenham. Oh, it was a loaded question. I do love Crouch. And David Shear's saying ABC English highlights back in the 80s. First match I saw Hoddle. Having these question and answers, although you're asking loads of different questions and they're not all being football, you don't half find out about your fellow chatters and your fellow community, because we are all one community and you get to find out about everyone. So it's superb. It's superb what we get to find out. I'm going to do these two, and if one more comes in, I'll do one after this. But these two, I've got two from Ellie. If you could pick one Spurs player from the past to fit into Ange's philosophy and could play Ange ball, who would that be? And you can only have one, Ellie. I could do a whole load. Yeah, I could do a whole load. So, is it just the one, Ellie, or can I do more than one? Because I think there's a lot of players here that can play the philosophy. I think there's a lot of players. I would say, as a number 8, Modric. As a number 6, Dembele. As a number 10, Glenn Hoddle. As wide left or centre forward, I could use Gareth Bale. There's so many different players I could pick to fit into an Ange Tottenham system. Yeah, I mean, my midfield, if I had to pick an alternative midfield 3, it would be 6 Dembele, 8 Modric, and your Hoddle as a 10. I'd pick Bale on the one side, and you could have Bale or Ginola on one side of the front 3. You could have Waddle on the right hand side. You could have Bale down the middle. You could have Greasy up front as well for you in the 9. There's so many players that I think would have benefited and played quite comfortably in this system, because after all, to dare is to do is what we are at Tottenham. That is our motto. That's what we've done in the past. We seem to have gone off the ball for about 4 years, but now we've come back and we're doing to dare is to do again. And therefore, if you're playing this style of football, front foot attractive football, then there's going to be many players from yesteryear that would fit this system. So the list could be endless. I mean, looking at the chat, a lot of people are answering this, and I don't know whether you can see Els, but a lot of people are answering it. And you've got David Shear saying Bale or Walker or Hoddle and Van der Vaart. Adrian Stroker's coming with Modric, Bale, Waddle, Ginola, Gascoigne, Dembele, Hoddle. That's what I said. There's a whole list, Eric. It would have to be Hoddle, closely followed by Greasy, Spurs GCTV. David Shear saying, wish we could have them all at the same time, Adrian. Talking Beer's asking for an all-time X1. We've done that one already, Talking Beer. We did that one on the show. Ellie's saying, mine is Spurs 5, Arsenal 1 in that League Cup semi-final. We well and truly battered them and played brilliant. The neutral match, Liverpool 4, Newcastle 3. What a magical match. He's asking me again, isn't he? Right, I'm gonna take that as the last one from Talking Beer. So, second one Ellie's asked is, what is the best match of football you've seen at Spurs, and a neutral match, Jose. So the best football match I've seen for Spurs is when we beat Arsenal 3-1 in the semi-final, and Gascoigne scored that, or Gascoigne carried us in that FA Cup season and got us to the final, and then played City Buggers in the final. So for me, I'm going to say it's the 3-1. Again, it's against Arsenal, but I'm going to say the 3-1. But I will also say, closely followed to that, if I'm going for recent, I've got to say the Ajax game, because of the result, purely because of the result, because we got played off the park for the first half, but in the second half we came out and we were, we came out a different mentality, different attitude. So brilliant game of football. Another absolutely mad game of football that we played in was in the same season, in the quarterfinal, when we played Man City, and they beat us 4-3 at their gaff. And they had the when we'd gone 2-0 up through Sonny with both goals, and then they had the goal disallowed, which through the naked eye, I called it offside straight away. And then it went to VA. Well, it went to the line judges. They did all the line, the draw line, and all that, and they gave it as offside. I think it was Aguero that scored it. Is it Aguero that scored it or Sterling? One of them. But they gave it as offside, and we lost 4-3. But that got us through from the quarterfinals into the semis against Ajax. So them two games stick in the memory. Adrian's got another one. Adrian's come in with the Spurs versus Anderlecht 1984, second leg of the UEFA Cup final, and Graham Roberts lifting the trophy. And one thing I can say to Adrian on that comment is there's not many people that have seen that happen. You have, I saw it, you've seen it, but there's not many people that have seen that happen. So it's well worth looking at. But that wax at Wembley, I mean, what's that? But that wax at Wembley, I mean, at White Hart Lane, Jose. Yeah, okay, I've got you. Yeah, so with the Spurs Anderlecht game, yeah, it's yesteryear, isn't it? It's something that, you know, back in them days, winning trophies were like 2 a penny for us. We need to get back to all that. And as for the neutral game, what neutral game would I go for? I know what you're saying earlier about the 4-3 Newcastle Liverpool game, and that was a tremendous game to watch. For a neutral game, Ellie, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say watching Newcastle come back from 4-0 down against the Gooners and drawing 4-4. That's the game I'm going to go for, because it's Arsenal. Arsenal 4-0 up at St James's, I think it was as well. 4-0 up, and Newcastle came back to draw it 4-4. And the look on the Gooners' faces, and all the people that have gone up there to support them, and the players on the pitch itself. And I think it might have been under Wenger. Wenger was the manager when this happened. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the 4-4 draw. Adrian's also coming with the 1988, 81, 100th FA Cup final. The replay, Spurs 3, Man City 2 after our 1-1 draw, and that Ricky Villa-Maisie goal, one of his 2 goals on the night. Yep, Adrian. But Adrian is one of the older connoisseurs of the community and has more memory than most. So, David Shearer is saying, Ellie, you have such great knowledge. I remember you saying you will email the club about Bill Nicholls' statue not being up. Did they get back to you, hun? Right. So, I've got... Right. The question of what's my favourite All-Star 11. Right, we answered this when we did a show, Nick. We did it when we did a show. But off the top of my head, I'm going to go with Pat Jennings in goal, always and forever. I'm going to go with Carl Walker at right back, Cyril Knowles at left back, Ledley King and Richard Gough as centre halves. And my midfield 3 are going to be Hoddle, Hoddle, Ginola, and our dealers. And then I'm going to go for Bale, Greasy, and Waddle. There you go. It wasn't the same as the 11 that we'd picked democratically when we did the show, but you've asked me to fire you off 11 players, and that's what I've done. I've fired you off 11 players from my all-star lineup. And I've missed out a lot of great players. I know I have, but it's because you put me on the spot and you've asked me to give you 11, and I've done that. And the last question I got, and then I'll catch up with the chat. The last question I got is favourite Spanish player currently. Favourite Spanish player currently. Nick, you're all good. I've just seen your comment about saying sorry for a redundant question. It's fine. It's only because you put me on the spot that I had to pick 11 players. And I know that my team has most of the players that we picked democratically as a group of people on that show, both on the panel and in the chat. But you've put me and you've asked me for my personal opinion, so I've just given you 11 players. But I could have picked four sets of 11 players quite comfortably. My favourite Spanish player currently. Right, I don't support them as a team, excuse me. I don't support them as a team, but I like Balde, left back, who's 17. I like Pedri and Gavi, who are 17 and 19, I think. I like Yamina Lamal, who is 16. And all these players play for Barcelona, but they're in the Spanish national squad. And they're all fine players. I mean, you're talking about Iniesta and Xavi. Okay, these guys have got plenty of time to catch up to them. But Pedri and Gavi have already got the amount of caps that they've got at their ages. I don't even think Iniesta was a full international, and neither was Xavi at 17 and 19. And these players are already full internationals and are winning caps and are first team players in their football side as well. So I'd have to say my favourite Spanish player, it'd have to be one of these youngsters from Barcelona. But my favourite player at the moment, I've got, it takes my breath away every time he goes on the pitch, has got to be Bellingham. I think Bellingham's an absolutely amazing player. And what I don't want to see from Bellingham is what happened with Dele Alli, where Dele Alli got burnt out and is not doing much at the moment. But I think, my favourite player at the moment to watch, who I think he can do absolutely everything, is Jude Bellingham. And he does it effortlessly as well. It looks like he's not even trying, but he gives every sinew, but it looks like he's not even trying it. But he's absolutely brilliant. I like Bellingham. I will say for people, it was said that, and I'm going to catch up with the chat, for one Dele Alli, it has been said that he's on his way back, and that Sean Dyche believes that they will see him getting game time before the end of the season. So I hope for his mental health that long may that continue and he does get back to playing football. And I want him to play with a smile on his face and enjoy himself. So I, for one, look forward to him coming back to play. Right, I am going to wrap up soon. So it says, Ellie, big up. Oh, Quez Ali's here. Good evening, Quez. How are you, sir? Ellie's agreeing now. She said that it's a call. 4-4 game was a good call. Adrian says, David says, Adrian, I watched the game. We got it free to air on what a game it was. I was 11. Talking beer, Mr. Schroker has forgotten more about football than most of us ever knew. Ellie is saying, they said they would put his Sawyer in the Hall of Fame. That's if David. All the artists, his favourite Spanish player at the moment is Dani Olmo. Dani Olmo, good shout. He's a good player, very good player. Daniel Lee's gone Pedri or Gavi. And then we've got Adrian Schroker has gone for Pat Jennings, Carl Walker, Cyril Knowles, Ledley King, Richard Goff. Did I go for the same back four? I think, and goalkeeper, I think I did. Glenn Hoddle, Paul Gascoigne, Luka Modric, Gareth Bale, Harry Kane, Chris Waddle. Okay, so I went for Greasy, you went for Kane. In the midfield, I think I went Hoddle, but I also fitted Ginola in there as well, didn't I? So, yeah, but that's good. That's good. A good shout. David says, wow, you, Adrian and Elliot are football living oracles. We are blessed. David, you're an oracle as well, mate. You come up with some stuff as well. You know your football as well. The good thing about our community is from all, shall I call it 4 corners or 8 corners of the world? Let's call it 8. From all 8 corners of the world, we've got players that know their football. We've got fans that know their football. Ellie's saying, nice team, Jose. Hers is Jennings, Perryman, Knowles, Mackay King, Gaza, Hoddle, Ozzy, Sheringham, Berbatov, Bale. Ellie, like I said, I could have picked 4 different teams. There are so many players. We've had so many great players at Tottenham that we could have 4, 5, 6 teams, and they'd be absolutely brilliant. So, yeah. Ellie, Epic X1 from Nick to you. And then Ellie saying, Greaves instead of Sheringham if I saw him play. David says, thank you for a great show, Jose, and all in the chat. Awesome. Eddie saying that I saw Greaves play at 4.5 years of age, but what I did not know at that age. Yeah. And David Shea, you're so kind, David. The way you answer all our questions is brilliant. Long may it continue. David, I'm happy to have you all here tonight. As I said, the reason for doing this is because obviously with the show, with doing Talking Ball and doing LTL together, I weren't getting any subs over here, and it seemed to be. And I want to grow Talking Ball. Don't get me wrong, but because this is my own, I just wanted to make sure that this kept going on chumbling on as well. So I've said to Colin that what we were going to do is we were going to not dual stream as much. We're still going to dual stream, but not as much, and maybe do a Talking Ball without LTL, and maybe I'll do an LTL without Talking Ball to see, you know, whether our numbers can go up organically that way, because obviously we're on the road to 1,000 with Talking Ball. I think we're at 945, so we're still 55 away, but we've been at 940 odd for about the last 2 weeks. It just doesn't seem to be moving. Although I will say that in the community at the moment, I'm looking at all the shows and I'm looking at the numbers from the shows, and I don't know what's happened, but the numbers for Tottenham fan shows have gone down. I don't know whether it's something we've done or something a group of people have done. I don't know what it is, but we're not getting as many to come into the shows and stuff like that. So it was to try and grow here, and I'm looking now. Now I will say that tonight I haven't gained any subscribers, but to me, I've got a show out on here with people that I like and people that I get on with and people that get on with each other, and it means that I've got one out here, and we'll end up doing one again. And also as well, it's the timings for people like yourself, David, and there may be some others, and if there are, please correct me, but for people like yourself, David, it's unfair that we've got you as a member on Talking Ball, and yet some of the shows we're trying to, and I hope you appreciate it, we're trying to get out there at different times to make sure that we reach everybody. But me coming on now at 10 o'clock GMT, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning for you, but it's now nearer 8 o'clock in the morning for you, and yet you've been able to come on. So therefore, I'm happy that you've been able to come on, because I don't expect you to come on, you know, when it's your bedtime. And when it's your bedtime, it's my daytime. And when it's your night, when it's my nighttime, it's your daytime. So, you know, I appreciate everybody that's come on here. We've got people from North America as well. We've got people up in Scandinavia as well. So we've got people from all walks. And, you know, just keep doing what you do. You ask the questions and we will respond to you. If you ask the questions, we'll answer your questions. And, you know, that's what we're going to do. We'll continue to do that as best as we can. If the chat gets too wild and we can't do it, then we can't do it. But then we've also got the members shows to fall into, and we've got calling shows. So I'm aware, I mean, I'm looking now, and the people we've got Adrian's been on, Eddie's been on, Nick's been on, David's been on. So there's quite a few. Leo's been on. So I'm looking through the chat from the people that have been on tonight. There's quite a few of you that have been on shows with us as well. So, you know, we're happy to share with our community. So again, all I want to do is make sure that we provide you with content. We provide you with a safe space to come, have your say, have a chat, you know, and you can feel you meet your fellow chatters as well, and then we all get to know about each other. Do you know what I mean? So that's brilliant. So for me, let me just, you've got some more stuff coming through. I'm gonna catch up with the chat before I log out. I'll catch up with the chat. I've got Spurs GCTV. Spurs have a great support here in the chat and all around the world. It's exactly what I was saying. 8 corners of the world. We've got people that have all got opinions, are all valid, and all great supporters of the club. Long may it continue. I can pick Van der Vaart, Ginola, Waddle, and Archibald, Crooks, Kane, Mabbott, Walker as my subs. There you go. Ellie, like I keep saying, you could pick 5 or 6 teams. Talking Beer saying, Jose, it was a great show. Nick, I take off my hat to you. Thank you very much, sir. Ellie says, Bobby Smith's our 3rd highest goal scorer. David Shear, we appreciate the hard work you all do. David, thank you very much. I'd love to come on anytime and say good day. David, it was brilliant seeing you the other day because your internet was actually in time. I've seen you before come on shows where your internet really lagged. I don't know what's happened. I don't know whether you upgraded, but your internet, I think you were on it was on one of the days that I went around, so it might have been at the weekend, and you came on and you were absolutely top draw. Well done. And I enjoyed watching you. Share the link for our Jose to your mates. That'd be nice, Ellie. Thank you very much. Talking Ball says, Talking Beer, all you have to do is power on. It will happen. People recognise real. Thank you. Ellie says, you got people in Enfield, lol. Daniel Sandoval, big up, Jose. One love, hermano. Muchas gracias, Daniel, por estar aquí. Gracias, gracias, gracias. And then he says, La Familia. And then we've also got Ellie saying, I really enjoyed your show, Jose. Great stuff, my man. Thank you very much, Ellie. Ellie, you do so much for everybody. And once more, my thoughts and everything and all warmest wishes and regards are for you and your daughter with her impending procedure tomorrow and for her post-op recovery. And then you've got Ellie's also saying, Alfie Con and Nicky Hazard, brilliant players too. Ellie, we could be here all night long if we were going to discuss Tottenham's best 11 and reserve side and 3rd team and 4th team and 5th team and 6th team. Listen, between us all in this community, we could come up with probably 15 teams. Honestly, there's so many that we could do. And Ellie, as a footnote, as we're leaving, says, Højbjerg doesn't make my bench, but I still like him. Lol. Right, what I will say to you, thank you to everyone that was here. If you haven't smashed a like already, please smash one on your way out. And if you want to drop a comment at the end of the vid, it's brilliant. Do that as well. It helps the channel grow. And with that, we are going to go out with our usual song. So I just need to find it. And if I can find it, I'm playing it. I haven't done this for so long. I need to find it. I found it. Listen, Talking Beer, Ellie, David, Spurs GCCV, Daniel Sandoval, Swim Master. Oh, Swim Master's here. Hello, Swim Master. Says, I noticed Talking Ball near that 1K milestone and that this channel's under 200, but just as worthy to be up there, 1,000. Keep going on other Spurs shows. You're seeing more. To be quite honest, Swim Master, I'm happy just being on our channels as well because it's about building the community, and I'm glad that we're building our own community here, and people are welcome into the community. And if they can fit in and they can get on with everyone, we welcome everybody with open arms. But yeah, I will play us out with La Música, and yeah, once more, thank you everyone for being here. Much love. Come on, you Spurs. In Ange we trust. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. GMT for predictions. Thank you.
My team has got James Madison. James Madison is what we need. Whoa, thank God we got James Madison. This kid plays ball like you would never believe. Whoa.